Hi, I'm Seamless, and today is Friday, which means it's time for a new how to bass tutorial. And today I'm going to be showing you a sound and a track that I'm working on. And if you've been keeping up on the videos, you will have already heard this, but I'm going to play it again because I think it's pretty interesting. I really don't know about it. I'm not totally sure what I was thinking when I made it, but it's growing on me. Anyway, there's really only one bass in this song, and so it's the one that we're going to talk about. It's really very obvious. And now I'm going to play it. So, the title of this video is Insanity Bass. And it's this guy. And this bass is pretty interesting, but it's not insane, which is unfortunate because it's what the song is called. The title, the track, the fucking video, it's called Insanity Bass, but I actually intended to set out to make a bass that was just unnecessary. And the setup absolutely is. And it's something, so there's some pretty interesting things about it, but it's just not as crazy as I thought it was. This is what the bass sounds like by itself. So now let's show you why this is Insanity Bass. At first, this doesn't look like a lot. It looks like, okay, there's a little bit of extra kind of big longness and some modulation happening and other fun business, but the real heart of Insanity is happening in here. There is two harmers, and I'm using 4 parts of both harmers, and each part is a specific section of harmonics, and they're all doing different things. So this is like hyper layering. Let's see, the first layer, it's the bass, is not doing a lot. It is, however, in square mode, so we're looking at every other harmonic. Not really pretty much anything at all happening in there. In fact, we can't even really hear those harmonics because the sound itself is being high pass, but it is influencing all the other sound, the processes and the distortion, that kind of thing, just by having the weight in there, which is important to think about when you're starting out. And so then here's this one, which is almost all square, but has some saw. Along with that, it's also got the phaser on in Hertz mode, and it's in a rather harmonic mode, and which means that it's following what the unison pitch does. And you can see that I've actually automated the unison pitch, and have also changed the unison pitch profile to look a little bit like Batman. This increases the Dark Knight. That's not being distorted. It's being distorted in post, but that you can kind of see how it sort of alters a little bit of the profile if I just play notes. Can't really hear it because it's being muted, but you can see that the unison amount and the phaser reacts very heavily to the unison amount's movement, and so that's why we decided to do that. That's that one. And this one, this guy, what is this guy doing? This guy has the phaser on and the speed is off, but we're modulating the width, so it's creating a lot of changing modulation with that as it moves around. I believe it's also automating. There's a little bit of prism on, so there's some extra, conflict occurring. And I have Hertz mode unison engaged, which means that it's going to sound different in every hit and have a particularly kind of metallic tunage to it. Even more so the fact that I'm on square modes for every other harmonic, and it sounds a bit harsher. Square mode on this one as well. I think pretty much most of them are on square mode, but because some of the harmonics are being moved around a bit, we're going to get saw wave activity anyway. Also because I used asymmetrical distortion later, which means that no matter what I do, there's going to be some saw harmonic in the series. This one is pretty basic unison. I'm altering the unison windows so that there's only these many harmonics being active anyway. So, from here onward. So it doesn't matter what I do down here, nothing's happening. Because, but that's what I'm changing to make it have sort of high-end fuzziness. All of them have different pitch values and different panning values, so they're being spread out quite a bit in very different ways. Then they're being distorted in uneven amounts and into 2 different effects, the distortions themselves, and also 1 dry one. All of them going into a compressor where they're being brought down together. The mid is doing some weird stuff, and it's happening fast enough that it's all just shy of actual wave shaping. But the high frequency almost is wave shaping, and that's keeping the sound kind of just below 0 dB a little bit, but which wasn't really the point, but it's kind of what's happening. Which just means that the master isn't doing anything, so I don't need attack in there. Good job. This guy, this is 2 notches and 2 peak filters, which are in the positive range. So they're kind of like bandpass filters, only they're not actually passing things. They're just increasing where they are. So the 2 notches are, you know, cutting off everything, but these guys are basically just accentuating particular spaces in time that they're in, and causing it to have, you know, some motion. Yeah, it's all 4 of those. And then we have distortion. So we have 2 different distortions. One is regular, and the other one is asymmetrical. The asymmetrical one, however, is coming out kind of in a different way. This is basically your average. This is a big bandpass, very wide bandpass, so it's almost barely bandpassing at all. And there's some notches involved in there, pretty regular stuff on account of me. But I did some funky things with the automation clips to sort of make it not sound like my regular modulations I do with these things, but they're still pretty regular. The gross beat is set up to do that kind of phasey business that we've been doing in a lot of more recent sound design. The time is set to half, and essentially the line over here, this is in single curve mode by default. It's on hold mode, and it's on hold mode now. Am I automating this? Sure hope I'm automating it. I am automating it. Good, because this is doing nothing. The automation here is essentially that we're doing the automation sort of what this would do, only just in the playlist. When this movement here is exactly what this guy's doing. This is basically the automation clip of this moment, which you can see when you're moving around, and it actually moves it around. That's what that does. So automating it directly was almost the same. There are some motion differences. Doing it in here is faster. Some switches and movements between parts aren't as snappy with actual automation versus doing it in here. But for what we're doing, it's fine. That's going up in there, and then going in regular filter is going into Maximus, and then we have also a Vocodex amount, which is loosely adding to the sort of I don't even know what. Honestly, it's doing something very loosely, but I didn't really like the vocoding nature of it, so I layered that in there with the real one too. This guy, like if you were just listen to this by itself. Listen to that by itself, right? Yeah. This is the one that's getting super crushed, and every once in a while you'll hear a kind of a break in it, and that's kind of what's going on here. There's a low pass filter coming on top of it, and then there's also the volume filter at the very bottom. So the low pass and the volume are actually the main modulation of this whole thing. Also a little bit of reverb for space, and then compression to hammer it all back together. I was actually very into how this sounded right at this stage before we did the extra modulation. I was into what this guy was doing, this particular distortion. The fun thing about asymmetrical distortion is, yeah, I'm doing different things, but if the input signal is loud enough, just the fact that you split it into asymmetrical mode is enough to make it break. And by break, I mean you'll hear some limits, and you'll hear like crinkles and cracks, and it'll be unpredictable in a particular way. And I really like that, because it's not like it's just enough in my control, because I'm usually not a fan of total randomness, but I like a kind of a range of randomness that I know what's going to happen, just not precisely what's going to happen. So it's a bit of a control thing. And then so let's talk about the actual automation. So let's see. This is the unison on the one with the harmonic mode of phaser. So that's controlling that. This is the phaser width modulation of the other guys. These 4 are the bands on that first EQ. 2 of them are peak filters. 2 of them are notch filters. These are the band pass and 2 notches. So the band pass and 2 notch. This is the gross beat time offset. This is the thing, the little time knob, which is causing the essentially the unison effect together. This is the low pass filter, but inverted because it was actually initially a high pass filter, but I didn't feel like reversing the automation. I just said just put min to max and max to min, which flips it upside down, and so now the top is the bottom and the bottom is the top, which is why this set is doing what we wanted it to do in terms of high pass or low pass. And then this is just straight up volume. That kind of crunchiness you're hearing is the breakage I was talking about. And the reason why it's not the same all the time is because of things like the phaser and the flanger, which are running effects, and the harmer with the Hertz unison, and a couple of the other modes that are not the same every time. So it will be a bit different. Although the phaser and the flanger, while they're running effects, I'm pretty sure they're going to be the same position based on the song position. So like if I play this one here at that point, the phaser and the flanger will be where they are, unless I have actual rate changes in them. Do I have rate changes in them? I do. So they're actually moving. Usually what I do when I have phasers and flangers is that I turn off the sweep frequency and I just modulate whatever parameter that is myself. But I'm kind of leaving it to fate a little bit. Rate fate. And that's why it's doing that. So it is a bit different, over time. And that breakage is coming out of this guy. Nice and crinkly. I love it. So the now what I was talking about the automation and changing from my usual stuff is things like this guy, and these two. This is the band pass and a few notches. And what I've done, no, that's not that. Is that this guy? These are the four banger EQ with the 2 peaks and the 2 notches. And I've increased the minimum value for all of them, which means that whatever sensibility I had for setting what particular motion got moved up, because I did it after the fact. And there's a particular, I'm just used to moving things in a particular range, so they sound like a particular thing that I do. And in order to make it sound different, I just moved it all up. So that means it sounds just a little bit sort of higher in the talky, formaty kind of way than it did when I was just whatever I was doing. And as far as arrangement goes, this is all actually part of one big old pattern. I think, is this one? No, this is not the whole thing. Yeah, here it is. And there's the voice I synthesized to make this thing, which is muted. Because I muted everything. But, it's from this. That's actually a harmer. Surprise, surprise. Yeah. So I basically wrote this while I was experimenting with it, moving all the parameters around, that kind of thing. And then I chopped them up. And then whenever I wanted to make variations, what I would do is I would select the whatever thing I was trying to variate, take the slip tool, and just kind of move it around a bit. And that creates pretty nice variations. Most of the time. The rest of the time, I just got to go in there manually and do it. Although I have managed to save myself from having to make any of these unique, which is nice because, oh my god, so much automation. The low pass and the volume were kind of there to sort of rein it all in because the sound is pretty all over the place when it's by itself. And it is in a very kind of cool way, except that that's absolutely not in the style of this track. Which is why I really don't know about this track. It started off in being not at all what it is, and it became what it is, and I don't know what it is. I'm going to keep doing it because the people seem to like it, and I kind of like it, but I fucking don't know what's going on. Anyway, I will give you, not this FLP, but essentially I'll give you like one stack of this automation because I could just give you the patch, but there's no way. I mean, you can kind of gander what there is to automate. Fuck, I'll just give it a patch. You can figure it out. If you watch the video. Anyway, if you have any questions about this, please let me know. Don't forget to comment, and subscribe, and all that good stuff. And as usual, have a nice day.